everybody. Thank you for joining us. This is Redbeard Flynn. With me today, you can see right over there, that is his true face. This is Lattsatnar, who has been streaming with me for the last month or so. And I thought it would be really cool to have, because you all see me, you see me all the time, but you hear Latt all the time, but you don't know as much about Latt. So I wanted to kind of introduce you to him, and so he's with us today. So Latt, you want to say hi?
Hey guys, how's it going? This is Lattsatnar here, or just Latt is absolutely fine. I prefer going by that. And I'm here with my good buddy Flynn. We play games together. You know, this is my avatar that goes back to World of Warcraft days. That's where I get my name as well. So
how do you want to tell everybody how long we've known each other?
Right, I was going to mention that in the introduction. I'm glad you brought that up. I've known Flynn here for about, I don't know how long it's been, about 12 years maybe? It's
something
been a good
like
while.
That. Yeah, about 12 years.
Yeah, that sounds right. We'll just go with that. But yeah, we go back a long ways. And Flynn's a really great guy. He's a great author. You should read his books, okay? I've read his books. They're really good.
This isn't a promo for me. We're good. Thank you, though.
He didn't pay me to say this, okay? I just want you guys to know that.
Yeah, okay, so we'll backtrack a little bit to the reason why your avatar here is from World of Warcraft. So when did you start playing World of Warcraft?
So I started World of Warcraft. I don't remember exactly when it was in real time, but in the game, it was Wrath of the Lich King.
That's actually I started at the same time.
Yeah, there you go. Because we had a mutual friend that started in Burning Crusade, I believe. He talked us up on it for a good while until finally about the time Wrath of the Lich King came out. I guess we both got into it.
Yeah, I think that's when I wasn't able to convince y'all to come and join me in EverQuest. So you convinced me to come and join you in Warcraft.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. Yeah, Flynn was really big into EverQuest, and I didn't know much about MMOs at all, really, at the time. I know EverQuest was first and everything, and WoW came out, and it kind of flew under my radar when it first came out. I wasn't that interested in that. By the time Wrath of the Lich King came out, our friend had convinced us to try it out, and I did, and I was really glad I did. It turned out to be a great game, a good experience. I already knew a little bit about games in the Blizzard universe through StarCraft mainly. I'm not sure if I remember actually playing Warcraft at the time. No, actually I don't think I did. I went into World of Warcraft with basically a fresh experience in what the Warcraft lore was. All I knew about was StarCraft. I was looking for a StarCraft MMO at the time.
So you didn't play Warcraft 2 or Warcraft 3, right?
Right. No, it turns out I played those after I played World of Warcraft. But the MMO itself did a pretty good job of explaining the lore as you played along with that.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I think that in general, World of Warcraft did a pretty good job of feeding you the lore without overwhelming you. I mean, obviously they've upped their game recently with cinematics and things like that. But even back then, I mean, I know I was invested in the whole. Granted, I had played Warcraft 3, so I was very invested in the whole Lich King story. I thought it was an awesome thing to kind of experience. I don't know if you remember, but there's a when they released Icecrown Citadel, they had that dungeon where you had to fight. And I think the first time through it, I may have done it with you, where you had to kind of like, you didn't actually fight the Lich King, but you had to like at one point run from him and all that stuff. That was crazy.
Yeah, that was a great encounter. I appreciate at that time for having a different spin on what like the boss fights would normally be in a dungeon. Yeah, that was really neat that he showed up as like sort of a cameo. You know, Darth Vader, yeah. That's what I was going to say, is that the Lich King has always been this kind of Darth Vader character. So they just like to have him pop up and menace you from time to time. And I thought that was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. What kind of game? We've talked a little bit about you playing MMOs and how that wasn't really how you got into gaming in the first place. So, if you were to describe yourself as a gamer, what would you say?
I mean, I wouldn't really know exactly how to describe myself as a gamer because I play everything. I'm just like a variety gamer, I guess. I don't know. I don't really feel locked into one niche, or there's one particular genre that I really like more than others. It's not like, oh yeah, I really play like a lot of shooters and I'm just like a shooter guy, or I just like racing games, whatever. I mean, I'll play any game. It comes down to old school games, 2D, 3D, doesn't matter. RPGs, action games, adventure platformers, or shooters, anything really. MMOs, anything in between. You know, I play all of it. So I don't really know where to put myself in like one box as far as being a gamer is. I like all of them. And any game that has a good story, it tends to draw me to it, and you can find that in a lot of different genres. So you know, I appreciate that. So that's one of those things I kind of try to seek out in gaming.
That's a really good answer. Would you consider yourself good at games in general or bad? And I will give you a little some rails for this, right? Because I consider myself to be bad at games, but I love them.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
and when I say that, that means I play games a lot of times for the experience and for the story, but I'll often tend towards the lower, easier difficulty. Maybe not the easiest difficulty, but I'm definitely, if there's like 4 difficulties, I'm probably on the second one. If there's 5, I'm probably on the third. So what about
Well,
you?
I like the challenge, but a lot of games these days, you know, they even add in like a story level of difficulty, right? If you just want to play the game for the story, like, is that more your speed?
That's, in a lot of ways, yes, that's more my speed.
Yeah, you could pick that option. It's there. But I'm into some games for the challenge. I don't know if I would consider myself good. You know, I'm not. I suck. But, well, it depends on the game, right? You want to play me at like, you know, old school GoldenEye 64? Hell yeah, man. Like I kick ass at that one, all right?
That's a way to date both of us, right? You know, yeah, we know what GoldenEye is. We actually played it.
Yeah, I'm old as shit. It's fine. Like I've made peace with that. Like we want to play GoldenEye. I mean, a lot of things back on the 64, really. Like I'm good at those. I can do that. You want to get me in some of these modern competitive games? Not so much. Like I suck at these.
Hey, we're not going to see Latt, climbing the ladders in Fortnite anytime soon, right?
No, and you know, I'm a pretty competitive guy when it comes to online gaming, and I'm good at some games and not so good at others. But even when it comes to the ones I'm like good at, playing competitively and going up the ranks, I don't know. I think I'm competitive, but I don't actually really play for the rankings that much. So, you know, right? Go figure. But who cares? It's not really that important anyway to me. So
I
yeah.
coerced Latt into playing a battle royale this past week. We played some Spellbreak.
We did. We played some Spellbreak. We were both pretty terrible at it, but we did happen to win a round. So go us.
We did win a round. So I think that's the high watermark, and we should never play that game ever again.
There you go. I agree. We will retire at the top.
Yep. What's the first game you remember playing and really enjoying?
Okay. I know the first game that I remember playing is basically Super Mario Brothers, right? The original back on the NES.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
Again, this is dating me, but this is the thing, right? Back when I was a kid was when all this stuff was going on. I think I got my first NES when I was about 4, right? And I got Super Mario Brothers. I played that. I loved it, right? So maybe you could say it. That probably was the first game that I played and I really enjoyed. But there was a lot of other stuff on the NES too that I liked at the time. What else did I have? Excite Bike was pretty interesting. I enjoyed that game. And
I don't remember that game.
you don't remember that game? That's a side scroller of a racing game, motocross, right? And your little biker dudes can jump over these obstacles on the track. You have all these various ramps, and you race other bikers. And the fun part of that was always like cutting right in front of them and making them wipe out. And there was this game on the NES called Shadow Gate. I remember playing that a lot when I was a kid. That is a sort of a point and click adventure thing. And it was really scary. It spooked me out as a kid. The death screen shows the Grim Reaper, and when I was like 6, like I was like, whoa, like it threw me for a loop, man.
I can kind of relate to that with a bit of a different game. I don't know if anyone's gonna remember this, but there is a Jurassic Park game, and I remember it was like a DreamWorks thing, and you had the little guy who threw the fishing line out. And then I remember getting freaked out at this is like the opening of the game. This isn't even the game yet. But he's
fishing line and Jurassic Park.
It's the DreamWorks thing. I think it's DreamWorks.
Oh,
where it's the boy on the crescent moon. And
right.
So
their logo is what you.
Yeah. And so he throws out the line, Then all of a sudden you hear the velociraptor sound, and then all of a sudden, like this, it just like tugs him down, and like he just disappears. I was like, oh, that's how this game is gonna start out. Okay. I mean,
Nice.
it was a 2D side scroller game. You know, the graphics were horrifically bad, but hey, it was scary at the time, and that was just the beginning of the game.
You just reminded me of another game too. Back on the NES, there was this Jaws tie-in game. And that one was
Okay.
kind of terrifying as a kid, right? You got this little boat and you were trying to catch Jaws, but I never really made it that far. I wasn't very good in that game. And I got scared because it's a shark and he's scary.
Makes sense. So deviating a little bit from the old game talk, I want to talk about new games and basically how I convinced you to stream with me.
I don't know. Flynn just said, come stream this game with me. I said, okay, sure.
Just very agreeable. Just very agreeable person.
I mean, generally, you know, I never really thought streaming was for me personally, but Flynn wanted to set up a streaming thing, so I just wanted to help you get it started. You know, I want to support you trying to do this, and I have always wanted to play games more often with you guys, I guess, and we don't always get an opportunity to do that. So this presents a good opportunity for us to be able to play some games.
Very true. Very true. So and you're definitely a very supportive friend. So thank you for that. Like not just in this, but for those of you that don't know, Latt was also a alpha reader for my second book, who was instrumental in making the book the way it actually is now. Very awesome person. Very helpful person. So
I mean, I just read books. I give some feedback, you know, and it seems to work out. So no problem. It was fun for me.
the game that we've been streaming specifically has been Valheim. Have you ever played a game like Valheim before?
Yes, I would say if I've played a game like Valheim, it would be. I mean, it reminds me of all the other crafty, buildy, gathery games, right? Stuff like Minecraft, obviously. That one is like the big example, you know, and I think that's not going anywhere for a while. Minecraft's a great game to play. I know Flynn hasn't played Minecraft ever, and I think he needs to try it at some point.
Would I die less in Valheim if I played some Minecraft?
No, you'd probably die in Minecraft more, and that's fine. That'd be fun. That would be good content. Minecraft and Ark, you guys probably know about Ark. It's the one with the dinosaurs, right? It's a cool game.
The one where you poop where you're standing.
There's that too. That's a little awkward, but it's a very unforgiving game, even compared to Minecraft and other crafting survival games. And Valheim, like it's probably harder than Valheim. Well, maybe about on the same level with Flynn. I don't know.
Well,
And,
Valheim's been pretty difficult for me, but I think it's because I got into a rut with it.
There's at least one more, but I'm drawing a blank. But yeah, I played Minecraft, I played Ark, played other crafting survival games. I happen to like the genre, and I think this one, in a sea of, you know, crafting survival games that have been released on the heels of Minecraft's success, I think Valheim is one that holds up on its own pretty well. It's interesting, it's just different enough, I think, to give it some appeal that I think it'll catch on pretty well.
You spent a lot more time in that game building than I have, which is not hard to do because I have built nothing except for part of a tower that eventually killed me and some torches. So what would you say about the building compared to some of these other games you played? Have you enjoyed it? Do you find it frustrating?
Yeah, I do actually enjoy building in these games. I guess I don't know exactly why. I like the creative process these games provide me with, those tools. Maybe it comes from playing with Legos as a kid, right? Like that was one of those things, like not necessarily gaming, but that was one of my hobbies too as a kid was Legos, right? And I think a lot of people our age, you know, probably that's one of their experiences too. Hopefully kids nowadays too, maybe they play Legos. It's great for
I just got Lincoln Logs. I don't know. Maybe that's why I don't build, because Lincoln Logs were just stack them on top of each other. And
I had those too. You could do some creative things with Lincoln Logs, but they're a little more limited than Legos. But yeah, Minecraft is basically Legos in video game form, right? It's kind of a similar idea. So you just kind of take the tools it presents you with, and then you can use that to build whatever you want. And I find that to be fun, even though I might not be the most creative person when it comes to building. I've seen a lot of builds online that look, you know, incredible. especially for Minecraft. The amount of time and effort people put into those builds is insane. But yeah, it's still enjoyable to build things in that game. I built some pretty neat bases in art. Um, I I'm pretty happy with the base that I got put together in Valheim as well. Yeah, it's fun doing that. It's kind of relaxing. It's nice, kind of feeling out what the limitations are in those systems, right? And seeing exactly how far you can push the building restrictions. Like in Valheim, you have to have supports. So it was interesting figuring out just exactly how far you could carry that and how big of constructions you can make.
Would you say that that is the most fun you've had in Valheim, or has it been the PVE aspect of it, or just me dying a lot?
Yeah, it's hard to choose. I mean, that last one is up there. The building in the game has been pretty enjoyable. I'm happy with the base I put together. So that's a good chunk of the fun I've had there. But watching Flynn die in this game has been very amusing as well. All the creative ways that he can do. He's really an artist when it comes to that. Finding new and creative ways to die.
I will take that as a badge of honor, sir.
Yeah, exactly. Especially the trees. If you guys haven't seen the clip where he manages to kill himself with like 3 trees at once, that's incredible. Go watch it.
If you were to stream or you know dictate the game, what game would you pick? So we've talked a little bit about what you have already streamed. We've talked a little bit about games you used to enjoy and types of games. But if you were picking the game yourself,
So for me as a streamer for streaming games, it probably would. I mean, it kind of ties into the building aspect, right? I guess it's not solely isolated to survival type games. I guess I happen to enjoy games like Civilization and games like City Skylines, where you build, and create things, right? Civ, you're trying to build an empire. City Skylines, you're building a city. You get the layout and you have to plan out all the infrastructure and watch your city grow. I would probably stream something like that. It's fairly chill, right? Something chill, like Civ, City Skylines, maybe some Stardew Valley. I really enjoy that game. I liked the Harvest Moon games back in the day, and that obviously got me into Stardew. Which I think is a lot of people's path on that one. And in the same way, you just sort of build and grow something. I find that pretty satisfying.
one game I've seen a lot of people playing recently I think it's on the same wavelengths as that. I don't know if you've heard about it before, but My Time in Portia. Have you seen that?
I did see another one of the streamers that we rated play that one day. I don't remember exactly which streamer it was, but I don't know if you do.
There's a couple that do. It's Banana Pancakes, Loon Glows. There's a couple different streamers that I've seen play that game. It seems like a very much a gathering, crafting. I didn't necessarily see much building, but then also some quest aspects to it too.
It's like Animal Crossing. I might play Animal Crossing. I don't own any current ones, though. I had one back on the GameCube.
That's the game that exploded this in 2020, right? Came out released in 2020 and was the thing that everyone did.
Yeah, it was kind of the thing to do while you were in quarantine, I guess, right? And since you couldn't visit people in real life, you could visit your friends' islands and stuff, and you could go visit their little virtual town in Animal Crossing. It's a cute game, right? And it's not so much about building in the sense that you build a base, but building as a sense you're trying to build a community with all your little animal friends and gathering materials and trying to build collections. I'm a sucker for some collectathons in games. Stardew has that too, where you have to fill out the museum and you have to fill out the community center with various collections. And I don't know why, but I love that shit, right?
It's a completionist mentality, I think.
It is. I have a completionist mentality for sure. But, there's also a darker side to Animal Crossing where the guy that gives you the home loan, right, Tom Nook, he will come and he will break your kneecaps if you don't pay him back your bells, okay? Like, he wants his bells.
I thought Animal Crossing was like a sweet, nice game. They have kneecap breaking?
Yeah, Tom Nook don't fuck around, man.
I did not know that was in that game at all.
Yeah, he's a raccoon, and he runs basically like the only shop in the village, right? He's got this monopoly on that and on all the real estate, and he don't let you forget it. Okay,
That's insane. That's okay. Well, I learned something new. I did not know that happened in Animal Crossing.
To be fair, no, he doesn't really directly threaten you. That's a little more of a meme, but you know, there are times in game where he came off a little menacing
Gotcha.
that I think led to that.
Gotcha. I understand. I got you. Since we've been streaming for about just about a month now. What have you enjoyed most about streaming? Like what has been a lot of fun to you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, probably the best part of streaming itself is the, uh, community building that happens, right? The people that come in and interact with you. I didn't think that was gonna go as well as it did when we started, right? If anybody just starts streaming, you have zero viewers, and you're like, well, nobody's really gonna pop in here, and maybe you'll get one or two stray people coming by, and they won't say anything. And it turns out that wasn't I was mistaken in that assumption. We got some really great people as part of our community who want to come in and interact with us and watch us play on stream. And like that's probably the best part of it,
I 100% agree, and I do think we've been very lucky in that. I do think the streaming to zero viewers most of the time is the norm for when you're first starting off, but we've been very lucky to have a dedicated group of very nice, wonderful individuals who come in and talk to us while
Yeah, and
I die.
and they're engaged. You don't get people who just come by and like hang out in the background and don't say anything. We got a lot of really active people who are engaged and great members of the community. I really appreciate that.
I agree 100%. Awesome answer. What are some of your current top of the mind favorite games? You can revise this list at any time.
Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind is obviously Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, right on the N64. Probably number one game of all time, right? Easy. And maybe that's just nostalgia talking, but it came out at the right time, and it blew me away, right? And I don't know if I've ever had an experience with a game quite like that before or since.
I think I never actually got to play that game myself very much because I didn't have the system to play it. But I remember seeing it. I remember being kind of blown away by the it's Ocarina? Is that the thing? The
Right.
the thing that you make noise with? I remember it being just blown away by that you were playing an instrument with a video game was just a really cool thing. And I think I remember seeing summoning a horse with that, maybe.
Right.
It's been a
One
long
of the
time.
cool yeah, you can. You summon your horse with it. The really cool thing about it is it's not just pre-scripted thing that you do in order to summon your horse. It's not like you press a single button that says play your ocarina and that's it, you're done. The game actually encourages you to interact with it so that when you bring up playing the instrument, you get, multiple input. So you can actually play different songs on it, right? They want you to follow the inputs for the songs in the game, but you can also play around with it and branch out a little more and be creative with it. So I thought that was really cool.
I feel like that game has just become kind of a classic that a lot of people reference as one of the favorites of all time.
It's a classic. It's a gold standard. Yeah, anybody who's from our age group probably knows. Again, I'm dating myself. The kids nowadays don't know as much about it. Plus, I'll be honest with them. If you want to go back and play it now, the graphics look dated, right? It didn't really age well, right? In my mind, Ocarina of Time looks great, but to look at it now and be honest about it, the textures are pretty rough. It looks a little dated.
I think in general, anyone who's grown up during this massive shift in graphics, if you go, talk about 2D games to 3D games to high fidelity 3D games and VR games now, the memory we have of the game when it was cutting edge graphics and the actual game itself now, when we can look back on it, are just entirely different. I still remember looking at Skyrim as being the most realistic game I've ever seen. But before that, Morrowind was the most realistic game I'd ever seen. And now looking back at both of them, you can tell they're both dated. And Skyrim doesn't seem like it's that old. I don't know when it came out.
I think Skyrim was something like 2012, 2013.
I guess that's a while. That's a long time in game years now.
They could just keep re-releasing it in perpetuity. It's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, Morrowind looks pretty dated. Skyrim has started looking a little dated, but the thing about that game is the modding community, as far as I can tell, is still active. People still keep adding 4K textures and new shaders into that game. You can basically make that game look like it belongs on a PS5 even today. Like that blows my mind. Part of a shift that may be part of a shift in gaming where you can almost take a game that came out at a certain time and somehow manage to keep it up to date. That may be something that happened in the future. I don't know.
Well, you've
But
seen. I mean, there's short clips of actually Ocarina of Time. I believe it's Ocarina of Time in Unreal Engine, and it's not the full game. Obviously, it's a small part of it. But they do little things like that. There's actually one. There was a project for a little while working on recreating EverQuest in Unreal Engine, and it looked amazing. But it's such a time-consuming and process without any real payoff that it doesn't really happen. But we have seen some incredible remakes recently, with coming from Capcom with the Resident Evil remakes, and then with Square Enix with their Final Fantasy VII, which I've never actually played, and I'm waiting for that game to come out on PC.
I want to try that one, and I want to try the Resident Evil 2 remake. I really enjoyed Resident Evil 2 back in the day, so I'd like to give that one a shot, but I haven't actually tried it. I wanted to try Final Fantasy VII until I found out that it was basically only the prologue area that's the entire game. So the prologue for Final Fantasy VII and the remake, like that's it.
Well, they're making the second one, right?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if they're making another one to like continue it. They're releasing it in multiple parts. I haven't looked into that. I hope that's the case because I'd like to play Final Fantasy VII as a remake, all in one package, that would be nice, but so far it's not all there yet.
Well, I think we can do a little break here. This will be a multi-part series, getting to know Latt. Is there anything you would like to say or tell everyone?
I think we've only just touched on favorite games, and I could go on for probably forever about this. Like, if you could pick different genres and I could talk about this stuff for days. And there may be a time where Flynn and I go into some deep dives on games. We'll see.
I was going to say, that's a really good segue for an idea that we've had about going into deep dives on everything from video games to video game stories to movies, TV, books, things like that. So it's something that we, me and this Taran right here, are talking about doing and doing semi-regularly on YouTube. So look forward to that. We can get into it. We can get pretty deep into it.
Absolutely.